Hey guys, Peter here to tell you about the latest from Obituary, Dying of Everything, out January 13th on Relapse Records. The album has 10 tracks, 44 minutes in length, and this is the band's 11th full-length studio album. They are an iconic American death metal band. The design of this album is definitely one of the weak spots of the record. It's very choppy, it's a very bumpy experience. It's not smooth, it doesn't offer a sense of continuity from song to song. It almost forces you to reset with every single track, but also reset in a very abrupt way. We see that with the opening of the record, and we see that throughout the entire album. If I had to use a metaphor, I would say this album feels like I'm listening to a vinyl, and the needle skips every time a song ends, and then it skips again every time a song starts. That's not the kind of design that you want. You want the album to be a little bit more compact. You want the album to be a little bit more seamless as it moves from song to song, because that's going to increase the overall playability and enjoyment of listening to the record from start to end. It doesn't take anything away from the quality of the individual songs, but it definitely hurts the quality of the overall experience of listening to this album. As far as the sound is concerned, this album is Obituary through and through. The two cornerstones are there: the dense, swampy Florida guitar sound and John Tardy's vocals. And if you have those two, you have Obituary. So this album feels very close to home. Not that I was expecting them to reinvent the wheel and create something different, something unique. They have their DNA, they have their sound. It's all about creating songs that bring that sound into the forefront and allow you to feel like you're experiencing something new but still connected with everything that the band has done up to this point. And then dense guitar sound is where I want to start. It really becomes the calling card of the album. Now, it's dense, but that doesn't mean it offers just a one-size-fits-all approach from beginning to end. I would say that the dense riffing is definitely the backbone, is the spinal cord of the sound of this record, is the spinal cord of the album itself, but they offer some variations. You see some acoustic guitars on this record, not a lot, but some. The solos feel a little bit clearer. They don't feel as dense, they feel a little bit more crisp, and they definitely offer some light, some energy that allows the tracks to have some breaking points so that they don't become monotonous, they don't become linear from start to finish, but you always end up going back to that sound, to that dense experience of the guitars that becomes the traditional experience from the past now brought into the present. The insertion of some groove elements into the guitar sound is also nothing new to Obituary. I felt like they perhaps did it better on this album than in some previous records because it's better blended in with the overall experience. It works better with the overall construction of the songs, and it definitely offers a little bit of a different perspective as you're going across all 10 tracks, and you need that in an album like this. You don't want to feel like the last song on the record sounded exactly like the second song on the record. You want songs to have some individuality to them while still staying connected sound-wise from start to finish. Those dense guitars give that sense of continuity, that sense of connection, and then all the variations that comes from the guitar sounds offer the individualities that the songs needed. As far as the drums and bass are concerned, I like the bass on this record quite a bit because it pops a lot. It's very noticeable in the mix. And I felt like that was helpful in connecting the bridge of the guitars being so much in the forefront, driving the experience of the record, and the drums being so much in the background, controlling the foundation of the album. The bass was that bridge, that connection, and the fact that it popped, it allowed that connection to be a little bit more visible, to be a little bit more noticeable, giving more texture, more substance to the overall soundscape, not depending just on one element, but creating depth with all of the elements available to them. The drums sound very powerful, they sound very heavy, but not overpowering. Always in the background, creating the foundation, allowing the guitars to jump off, and also allowing the vocals to jump off as well. And the vocals by John Tardy, he has a very unique and distinct delivery. That's why I call him one of the cornerstones, one of the pillars of Obituary. This album is no different. This man is getting better with age. He's like a fine wine. And this record, he delivers an incredible performance. Having said that, I felt overall this album was more about the sound, was more about the experience of the sound, and it wasn't as dependent on his vocal performance to really make a mark or leave a dent. That was an interesting twist because there's certain songs on this record where you almost forget that there are vocals in them because the sound is what's really keeping you going. It's really what's keeping you connected with the song and the experience that it gives. All around, I enjoyed the individuality of the tracks, and if I'm listening to these tracks on a playlist where I get one here and one there, I'm really going to enjoy that experience of listening to those songs, because the quality of the individual songs is undeniable. It's just how they work with one another in the context of the record that leaves you wanting more. I wanted the album to have better definition, to have more of a sense of continuity, to not be as abrupt as it is. Even as it starts, it kind of starts. In an album like this that is this brutal, you need some elements to bridge that brutality so it's easier for the listener to digest and you don't feel like you're getting jolted constantly. This album is all about the jolts. Now, if that's something that you enjoy, great. For me, I wanted the record to have more of a sense of togetherness in terms of how these songs coexist with one another, and not just concentrate on how good they can be within their own self, within their own existence. As far as favorite songs are concerned, I have to start off with the opening track, Barely Alive. I really enjoyed this song. I didn't enjoy the harsh opening. I kind of felt like this song could have used a little bit of an intro to get you going into the experience of the song, but that wasn't to be had. So the song starts off, the album starts off, and it's immediately in your face. A song that sets the tone for the rest of the record. It sets the tone for the rest of the record from a vocal delivery, from a soundscape point of view, and from that jolt that it gives you right from the get-go. You're going to see that spread out throughout the entire album, almost nearly across all 10 songs. I love the brutality of the song. I love how it moves, and that brutality really connects the vocal side with the musical side. It's straightforward. It doesn't matter if you're in the verses or the chorus. This song stays very compact, stays very linear in terms of how it moves and the elements that it uses to create that same movement. So it feels straightforward. It oversimplifies itself from that point of view. The solo sections allow the song to breathe, because when you have that sense of linearity, when the song doesn't change that much, when there aren't any ebbs and flows within the track, the solos become the ebbs and flows. So the solo sections on this track, the way the guitars are used overall to break away from that dense sound experience, helps allow the song to feel a little bit more complete. It gives it more substance. Next we have War, and this song speaks really well for some of the experience that you're going to feel throughout this track. This is a song that you're listening to. The vocals come in, they go out, but it's not really about the vocals as much as it is about the experience of the sound itself. It has some samples in it. It's very dark, it's very menacing, it moves slow, but it has always this sense of despair to it. It's a great representation of war, because you're almost feeling lost at times in it. The fog of war is really well represented in the sound and in terms of how the vocals come across. Almost like you're lost in the battlefield and you're listening to screams, you're listening to people calling here and there, but you can't really see them, you don't know where they are. They're lost, you're lost. It's just voices in that fog of war. The way the vocals work in this song is a perfect representation of that, and then the sound helps define the atmosphere that the song creates. Last but not least, Torn Apart, definitely a groovier song on this record, bringing that death metal sound but with groovier elements on the guitar, allow the song to have a little bit more thickness, allowing the song to have a little bit more texture, still having that dense experience, but infusing some groove elements, allows to counterbalance it, allows the song to feel a little bit better together and not just pushing everything into a single direction. Now you're going to see the song moving itself forward musically and vocally. The two elements work really well with one another in order to keep everything grounded, in order to keep everything connected. The guitar sound, the solo, the overall experience on this track guitar-wise is really interesting because it offers a lot of moments that the song can breathe. It can break away from that dense experience, thins out a little bit, becoming more crisp, and that is really necessary for you to not just feel completely overrun and overwhelmed by that same backbone, by the same spinal cord that's so true to their sound, to their DNA, and to this record across all 10 tracks. Interesting song. I like the elements and I like the mobility that the guitars offer. All around, this is Obituary with Dying of Everything, out January 13th on Relapse Records. Let me know your thoughts on the band, on the singles. Hit me in the comment section. I'm dying to see what you have to say, and I'll see you all at the next video.